tell you, Diana Hunt gave me more hope when I looked and heard her story as she talked to me. Diana Hunt, when she decided she was going to transition, she immediately called her newspaper in Hilo. They came out and they interviewed her. They followed her through her transition from being a man to a woman. And there was a big article in the newspaper there that told her story. And she said, I've never been so happy. Now I'm who I am. Now I fit into my body. And 2 weeks later, somebody broke into her house, took a machete, hit her 8 times in the house, almost severed the shoulder off of her body. The police came. Even though she was still breathing, they said, she's not going to last. Don't move her till the ambulances got here. But they took photographs of her with blood all around her shoulders, all around her head. That woman was finally taken to the hospital, and she was in a coma for 5 months. 5 months in a coma. And when she came out of the coma, she was 5 years in a hospital. 5 years recovering before she could go home. 5 years she had power, and now she was powerless. And in that 5 years, she was angry, she told me. Angry at everybody, angry at the doctors, angry that people didn't understand who she was or what she was. And for 5 years, she struggled in that hospital. And then one day they told her, you can go home. Really, she told me, they'd gotten tired of me. She said, I knew all the rules. They didn't like that. I knew what to say to set them off. They didn't like that. Finally, after 5 years, they said, you can go home. And she went home, and she sat in her house in a wheelchair. And it was awful, powerless. And then one day she said finally her anger broke through, and she was angry. And then all at once she remembered, you know, I don't want to live the rest of my life like this. I'm not going to live the rest of my life in this kind of anger. There's something I've got to do. She called the newspapers. The newspapers came out, and they did another story on her where she forgave the person who did that to her. In the newspaper, she forgave those people who did that to her. And then she found out about Metropolitan Community Church, and she got a hold of our pastor, amen. And people there was frightened by her. The gay community was frightened by her. She ran as an openly trans person for the state legislature and said she was doing it for the gay and lesbian community. And some gay and lesbian folks said, well, we don't want you to do it for us. We didn't ask you to do this. But she ran just the same. And then one day she called the church, and our pastor was told, oh, don't go out there. This is an angry woman. This is a woman with problems. She doesn't even look like a woman sometimes. And our pastor said, I don't care. And she went out and she met with her. Her partner stayed out in the car because she was one of those who were frightened, saying, my God, what if somebody happens? What if somebody comes to the house while you're in there? She's telling her partner, our pastor, she said, I don't care. And she went in and she met with Diana. And she said, Diana, I want you to come to MCC. And Diana just broke down. She had prayer with Diana. And she said, I want you to come. And she said, you know something? I want you to be a greeter at our church. I want you to pass out the bulletins at the front door. Well, when the pastor went back and told the board, oh, they got upset real quick. Oh, my God. You're going to have this person that, the wigs don't always fit, and, all this kind of stuff. And she said, I don't care. That's what Metropolitan Community Church is all about. She's going to be a greeter. And I want to tell you, when I got there, I couldn't wait to meet Diana Hunt. When I walked in, I got my bulletin. And Diana said, can I talk to you? I said, absolutely. If there's anybody who needs to talk to Troy Perry, anybody who's won that right, you certainly have. Amen. And after church, I sat down with Diana. And Diana started telling me her story. She told me the story of what had transpired and happened to her. She told me, she said, this church has made me love myself again. She said, I want to tell you, this church has made me love Jesus again. This church has helped me. They let me pass out bulletins. I now write the Bible study for the church that goes on the website. She said, you don't know, Reverend Perry, what it's done for me. Well, in my sermon, that service, I had mentioned about all of us having a little boy or a little girl that lives inside of us. Amen. And some of you have both. Amen. Some of you have whole families. Amen. And after